Many people have heard the word serendipity, but not many know where it actually came from. According to an old tale from Sri Lanka, there was a country within Sri Lanka called Serendip, and there was a prince of this country who was an extremely lucky fellow. He would go outside and he would find money. He would meet people that would then lead him to all kinds of new alliances and connections. So whatever he did, he would go out and encounter good things that he hadn't been looking for. So this process of the lucky discovery of unexpected things of value is known as serendipity. Now, who wouldn't want to be like this lucky fellow? Well, you can. And there are many ways to do it, but one way I've discovered is through the Japanese art of haiku. Haiku are well known around the world as the shortest poem in Japanese literature. It's 3 lines, 5 syllables, and they're usually seasonal, and they give you a more immediate perception of nature. Well, first of all, you select a haiku in season, which I have done here, as I will show you. Now, it takes just a few seconds to read a haiku, and there's almost no meaning to speed reading haiku. You could read 50 haiku and not get anything out of it. But could you actually spend some quality time with a short haiku? Instead of just reading it and thinking about it and being done with it, could you even spend as much as an hour with it? Well, I tried this experiment, not only with myself, but with my college students. And it was very, very revealing to see, how the process worked and what changes it made. Now, the first thing to increase your engagement is to find a visual image. Now, I've chosen here a haiku card, which is produced by the Kumon company, and it was chosen in season, which was the fall season. I call it Cricket Moon, and I drew this with a pencil using what I call pencil perception. So when you draw something with a pencil, it forces you to look at it much more in detail and to engage with it in much more depth. But I also used a technique known as upside down drawing, which is a very clever way of getting you out of seeing just in stereotypes. So instead of saying, oh, these are eyes, they're round. Well, they're not round. If you look at them, they actually have a very unusual elliptical shape, which isn't even that smooth. So you actually have to look at the features in great detail. And this is a lot easier to do when the drawing is turned upside down. So you see, here's the drawing that I made, and actually when you then right size it, it actually is quite an accurate drawing. And it took me about 40 minutes to do this. But in the process, of course, I'm engaging with the haiku the entire time. Now, the haiku that goes with this picture and with this image is, I'll read it first in Japanese and then in English. So, Sumutsuki ya hige o tate tateru kirigirisu. Now, this didn't have an English translation, so I made one, and I took the challenge to see if I could actually make the English also come out with the 575 syllables. In Japanese, the 5 syllables are sumutsukiya, that's 5, and then hige o tate taru, that's 7, and then kirigirisu is 5. So the English translation I came up with was, against the lucid moonlight night, the katydid extends her feelers. So again, counting the syllables. Against the lucid is 5. Moonlit night, the katydid, that's 7. Extends her feelers, that's 5. Now, it's very difficult to create a 575 pattern that is also a good translation, and it isn't even required. Generally, the haiku writers in English say that if you can say it in one breath, that's sufficient, 3 lines in one breath, with the central line being a little bit longer. But it's kind of cool when you can actually make it also fit with the same rhythm as it has in Japanese. Now, after having done this and engaged with the drawing and engaged with the translation, I found something that was very interesting, that you often hear the word lost in translation. Well, this was the opposite. It was like you were found in translation. There was something about the translation process and reaching out to find the right words and balance them and then to express it that actually made you not lost, but found in translation. And lastly, an interesting thing happened after doing this. It took about an hour then to engage with this haiku. Then walking out of the dojo where we had done this, suddenly there was much greater awareness. I felt it too, the students felt it, of the winds and the changes in the light and just greater feeling of living in the moment, which was delightful. But then a couple of days after that, I went into Tokyo and I had a calligraphy lesson, and I was on my way, and I was sitting in a coffee shop, and I was saying, well, I've got time, but maybe I'll go a little bit early. So I left the coffee shop and headed towards the calligraphy studio. And there on the road in front of me was a katydid, a cricket, which was crossing at my feet, and it was in a position where it might have been run over by a bicycle or a vehicle or something. So I gently put a paper down, gave her a place to stand, and then I put her safely in the leaves and grasses off to the side. And this made me think of another Japanese phrase, mushi no shirase. And mushi no shirase literally means message from the insects. You hear the chirping of the insects, and inside there's a message. Sometimes it's a warning, sometimes it's an intuition, and it's something, it's sort of a synesthesic experience that comes from being well connected to nature. But to me, the timing of this, that the fact that my timing of leaving the coffee shop just on a hunch, and then just happened at that moment to cross paths with this katydid at my feet, which would have either way forward a minute or two before or after and would have missed, or just even noticing it, and then just how cool that was. And it just made me think that haiku is an excellent way, the haiku mind is an excellent way to bring you into the experience of serendipity. So I hope you will take the advantage of this and also experiment with haiku in the same way.